I don't know what we're more like around here. Are we more like a hockey shift change, or are we more like a NASCAR pit crew? Lucy and Jessica ran out of here.
I went to Homestead, and let me tell you, as someone that's gone to the Chicago street race and someone that's gone to Formula One several times when it's been down here in Miami, from a fan friendliness standpoint and a fan access standpoint, the experience that I had at the Straight Talk Wireless 400 in Homestead was second to none. I'm telling you, I'm out there on the track writing my name on the finish line like 40 minutes before the race. It was incredible.
You're not wearing the gear head correctly.
Yes,
No,
he's wearing it.
He's got it.
Good effort.
He's got it on.
It's a little broken. So
on
we've got
his
two
head.
races left in the season. Martinsville, Kyle Larson absolutely needs to finish top 3 here if he wants to get to Phoenix with a shot at the championship, but this is enthralling. Joey Logano was eliminated. Now he's leader. Tyler Reddick had to win that race basically in order to get a playoff spot. Michael Jordan said the kid raced his ass off. You understand? Michael Jordan is presently suing NASCAR. The storylines in this motorsport are bananas.
Do you wish you would have jumped on sooner back when Homestead was, the championship? Yeah. You joined like 2-3 years too late.
At least it was in the playoff. Next year it's not in the playoff.
That's
it's
a shame.
Just going to be a race.
That honestly is a shame.
They bounced it out of the playoffs?
Disrespect.
Such
Matt Beecher is going to be livid.
Oh, no doubt.
Such a great track. It was just a quality race. Really no big wrecks. Just the only wrecks were single car or 2-car because people were aggressive trying to win it. That's why you got to admire the 5-car. Stays true to himself, even though it's risky. Now he's got a big race at Martinsville. But I really wish that a lot of you people would think that this is sincere, because it is.
Yeah.
I'm watching this over the NFL on Sundays. It's been such a fantastic season. You're all just standing idly by as this motorsport is really starting to find its groove.
I will say that Homestead Motor Speedway, as a South Florida institution, is one of the strangest sports things that we have anywhere in South Florida.
What do you mean?
That it's so far away, and then you have this giant facility that is pretty first class. I mean, it's about 20 years old, but it is a place that I would say that NASCAR folks are proud to have, even though there's just a bunch of swampland all around it.
I mean, you can't exactly put a racetrack in the middle of downtown. Like, you got to put it where it fits.
We've done
that.
We've done that.
With street courses, you can, but this is a traditional oval, and I was a little shocked. Like, the only thing in it's Vistas like this don't really exist in South Florida. It looks like somewhere in the middle of Tennessee. Otherwise, you would see, but you do see Turkey Point off in the distance, and you do get to see some water. Boy, if that thing ever blows. That's
the aqua walls. Oh, what a delight.
Dude, talk about those walls. Okay, so the traction at this track, it's famous. It's very slippery. It's because the track is paved with local seashells.
Yeah.
So the drivers find their advantage by literally hugging the wall, and you'll get a little... rubbing is racing, right? Yeah. But you can't even fit a credit card in between some of these cars. Ty Gibbs, one of the greatest Nepo babies of all time. Ty Gibbs, I guarantee you can't put a napkin in between that vehicle, that 54 car, and that turquoise wall that they have over there at Homestead Miami Speedway. But it's been a great NASCAR season. 2 races left. Thank you for the opportunity. Were you giving me the opportunity?
I was not.
Nothing wrong with kissing the wall with your car. You know what I mean? The wife understands. It's just part of the business.
Put it on the poll at Batard Show. Is rubbing racing, and does the wife understand that rubbing the wall is just
Kissing
part
the
of
wall,
the business?
Yeah, she does. Homestead is 45 minutes from here.
It's very far. Well, that's without traffic.
It's my first time there.
I
I was going through a suburban neighborhood. I'm like, can you believe it? Alex the Showman Bowman is bringing his trucks here through this neighborhood. I just had the greatest time, and honestly, I've caught the bug in a very profound way, Dan Le Batard.
You walk up the slope, one of the turns?
I walked up.
Impressive.
The access is incredible. At Formula One, everything is so exclusive, and everything is so siloed.
NASCAR access is second to none.
Second to none.
As I was saying, Jessica and Lucy shot out of here to do Gen CFB, and I still don't know what this show is more like. Is it a hockey line shift change?
Well, a line shift, when a shift comes out, another shift comes in, we just have less players now.
Yes.
Yes.
I feel it's more like, well, Jeremy did come in. We do have fewer players, though.
You excited about it?
Well, let's do Weekend Observations because it's one of the greatest contests we've ever had.
Open the door just a little bit for me, Dan.
Just a crack.
The Weekend Observations.
In Alberta. McDavid going back for X-rays. Scoreless at Columbus? Are you kidding me?
The Panthers have won 5 in a row on the road.
Cole Sillinger, by the way.
I want to talk more Kachuk, but we need to get to weekend observations because this has been a contest months in the making.
Don't like what he did to Tate McRae, though.
I spent the morning trying to think of what Stugotz's back would be. Which player?
Who's going to be back?
Yeah, I thought, will it be Bryce Young?
Tyler Reddick.
I didn't know who. I did not know who it would be, and whether Stugotz would choose someone that would make it hard for the more than 20,000 participants to win. Mike, what are some of the things that people are betting on or predicting, I should say, to try and win this prize where they get to spend time, it's like some real cool time with our show?
Well, now that the contest is locked, let me see if I can activate. But I do know beeps and who is back of the week.
Yes.
Number of beeps?
Yeah. Number of beeps.
Number of beeps
back,
was
right.
in there.
Right. Will there be a top 5, I think, is in there? I mean.
I have a question on the number of beeps. So Chris is in control of that. So, like, if Chris misses a beep or he hits an extra beep, does that count? Are we doing where beeps are intended to go, or just number of beeps that get played over the air?
Number of beeps made by the litterer.
You're talking about a really sophisticated
indoors,
scheme from Chris Cody, and I'm willing to bet dollars to donuts that during his time in Key West, he didn't think that whole thing through.
Scheme of war.
Let's go ahead and start the weekend observation.
It is time for Stugotz to share his game notes. No one in the media will tell you what happened better than my boy Stu.
Weekend observations brought to you by Miller Lite. Great taste, just 96 calories, available for delivery. Dan.
Billy just delighted in telling me that you've pissed off all of Japan
I
with
have,
your tweets on Otani.
Dan interrupting you first.
Yeah. Taylor. Dan, buckle up. Because when he is in at quarterback, it's either big plays or pure chaos. No in-betweens. And honestly, I would have taken it any other way. Whether it's a four-course meal.
You would not have taken it any other way.
I'm thinking about Japan right now. Whether it's a four-course meal of touchdowns or an interception appetizer with room for seconds, one thing's for sure. Eating a W is always on the menu. This past Sunday, he returned, taking down one of the few teams in the sport that we thought was actually good. And Dan, just like that, make no mistake about it, Jameis Winston is back.
A lot of contestants still in the game if they took Jameis Winston. That's a good one.
Notre Dame, do it at the Naval Academy. Tired of them. Notre Dame, please. Not sure about everyone else, but in my personal record book, Navy is 8-0. StugotzBook.com. 8-0. Notre Dame may have won the battle, but Navy always wins the war. I mean, they do, right?
Often. We're not
right.
undefeated, but
well, no, Navy is undefeated. 8-0. Personal record book. Playoff. Fortunately for us, playing in that football game was the least important thing the Navy players did the entire week. WTY FYS. We thank you for your service. For those keeping track at home, Mike Norvell should now spell his last name with 7 L's.
That's a fireable offense, by the way, to have that program, even as good as they were last year, losing 7 times so far, because they're going to put up like a 2-9 record or something crazy
9
like
L's.
that.
Yeah.
He's responsible for 2 of their worst seasons ever. Yeah, $10 million a year is why he's not going to be fired. To think he turned down Alabama. That was the nature of the reports, whether or not that was super genuine or just an agent posturing.
Crazy.
Was that he turned down Alabama.
Yep. Aaron Boone, hot seat. Chicago Bears, take the training wheels off. New York Jets, quarterback away. Mason Rudolph can scoot. The Washington Commanders won the draft. Dan, you know what the H in Kyle Hamilton stands for?
I do not.
Not hands. I mean, he had that game. The game was on his hands. If he had any, they would have won the game. They don't. They lost.
Brock Purdy can also scoot.
He can scoot. I like that bet. Will Dan have an observation during Stu's weekend observations?
That's not part of the contest, I don't believe.
No.
Shohei Ohtani. They'll never look at you the way they look at Freddie Freeman.
Billy, what's going on with Stugotz in Japan? What are the latest? Because he's getting tweets in Japanese.
Yeah, it would appear that you tweeted out about Shohei Ohtani basically doing it at the World Series.
I did?
Yeah.
I think it was do it with no runners on. No? Or that was before that?
That was, in the LCS. Now in the World Series, you or your account has tweeted something about Ohtani that has upset Japan, in which they're essentially telling you to shut up.
Huh. I mean, he's batting .091 in the World Series. You shut up.
Wow.
You're going to go to war with Japan?
No. Baseball should just be 162 games of Yankees-Dodgers. You agree?
That would really ruin Navy season.
Notre Dame's going to screw up this Navy-Army thing for everybody.
Are they?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, I think that those schools could have gone into the game against each other unbeaten.
Wasn't talking about Notre Dame. Talking about the whole Japan thing.
Yeah.
We'd need them.
Yeah.
In the war.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, Horvath.
I can't go to war with
No more?
Japan, right? No.
No more pitches to the fullback.
Yeah.
You already have gone to war with Japan. It's happening right now on social media.
You asked me, I said no. I mean, I haven't declared war.
It's already, well, I mean, you did by pointing out that Ohtani needed to be better.
I don't have international incident in the prediction pool.
Yeah.
Without Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs are probably still 7-0. Without Spags, they are probably 0-7. They say art is subjective. I say that Dwayne Wade statue is terrible. Top 5 statues of all time.
Oh, wow.
Number 5, the Rocky statue.
You know they moved it?
They did, slightly, though.
Yeah, it's not at the top of the steps.
No,
you
I
kind of
know.
want to see
It's at
that
the
bad
bottom
boy at
now.
the top of the steps.
Yeah. Do you run the steps when you go there?
Yeah.
You have to, right?
Wasn't that bad?
Yeah.
Has anyone interrogated the prospective vice president the way that Stugotz did on the subject of Rocky and made him retreat? Made Tim Walz retreat.
He's wrong. I mean,
He's going to get aggregated by calling the Wade statue pretty horrific. Quote, pretty horrific.
Number 4, the Heisman Trophy. Number 3, the Michael Jordan statue outside the United Center. Number 2, the Statue of Liberty play by Boise State in the 07 Fiesta Bowl.
It was a good play.
Thank you.
You know they moved that Jordan statue inside?
Get out of here.
Yeah, like if you go to visit,
How about we
it's
stop
the wrong
moving
day.
statues?
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
I mean,
Couldn't see it. I went just to see it. And like United Center was in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
I drove there just to see the Jordan statue. Couldn't get in because there was an event inside.
it's like Homestead.
Yeah, I had to leave.
I got to tell you, whether it's littering should be outside or statues should be outside, we need to keep statues outside.
Yeah. The Madhouse on Madison. Number 1, Joe Flacco.
In the pocket.
No, just Joe
He had a
Flacco.
40-yard touchdown
In the pocket
run.
was Taylor. Joe Flacco is me.
He has a 39-yard touchdown scramble in his career.
You can scoot.
It was his rookie year.
Yeah. Here come the Sabres.
There they went.
What do you
Sabres.
mean? Did you not see what the?
I mean, I wrote these Saturday.
I mean,
Taylor.
But last night,
What happened? They lost?
I mean, the
Yeah.
Panthers have won 5 in a row on the road.
Huh. Here come the Sabres.
Okay, you're stubborn about it.
Matthew Stafford would have won that game for the Vikings. This might be the best coaching job of Mike Tomlin's career this year. I mean, the way he handled Justin Fields and Russell Wilson and just seamlessly, that's how you do it. I mean, he's a great coach who's a little bit overrated because he can't get it done in the postseason.
I love it when someone else writes your observations that undercut a previous take.
I hate it, Taylor.
You could write them yourself.
Navy, turning the ball over 6 times against Notre Dame. Are we sure we trust them with our nuclear weapons? Smetty,
I don't trust you around that word.
nuclear.
There you go.
That's what happens when you care about our nation's security and not ball security. Smetty. How did this Notre Dame team lose to Northern Illinois? Smetty. Navy isn't your father's Navy or your grandfather's Navy. It's just the same old Navy. Smetty. Navy in the triple option. Dan, you know what it means if you have 3 options?
You don't have any.
Hey, look at you. It means you don't have one. Russell Westbrook is a Nugget. Rest of the NFL, here's an idea. Stop trading your players to the Kansas City Chiefs. They're doing just fine. I could listen to Jameis Winston talk for hours. The Dodgers won Game 2. The second Ice Cube started performing. Fat Joe lost Game 3 for the Yankees. Do we need a concert before every World Series game? Can't baseball just be enough?
Oh, my God.
Just give me some baseball.
You guys,
give me 9 innings.
You and Billy. You're Billy taking out my demo because he doesn't like Ice Cube, because he doesn't like 50-year-old rappers and Fat Joe. And you just want baseball. All of a sudden now you're pining for baseball to go back to being what it was in the 1920s.
It wasn't an attack on you. It was just like factual. I know Ice Cube more from like RV movies.
Family movies.
Yeah,
instead
he's
of,
great.
yeah.
I like those
Family movies?
Yeah.
Bartolo Colon is faster than Giancarlo Stanton.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju. Is Bartolo Colon faster than Giancarlo Stanton?
More like Giancarlo.
Giancarlo Stanton.
He's not fast.
Right. Reggie Jackson, Mr. October. Derek Jeter, Mr. November. Aaron Judge, Mr. June. The J of Judge stands for June. As a Met fan, it has warmed my heart seeing how quickly Yankee fans are turning on Aaron Judge. Yankee fans firing Aaron Boone while he's managing the team in the World Series. WFAN must be getting 40 shares this month.
Billy just did the same thing.
More like Giancarlo standing.
Oh. What?
He's not moving.
LeBron James passed Michael Jordan with the most career 30-point games after turning 39 years old. Yawn. Let me know when he passes him in rings.
And when he wins at Homestead.
Do we have the in-season tournament again, by the way?
Yeah.
The IST?
IST.
That's an annual thing we're
No,
doing,
it was a one-year thing.
I went
You never know.
It went so poorly. I mean,
Talking about. How can you forget that final between the Lakers and
The Pacers.
I know it's Pacers. I'm going
crazy.
I'm going for a joke, Jeremy. Why are you back
It was
in?
just a shock. I was supporting you.
You get fat on the Pistons and all of a sudden you pop your head in.
It was a good win. Playing team.
Andy Reid's Hall of Fame bust should have Patrick Mahomes' face on it.
You did not just say that a win against the Pistons is a good win. You didn't do that. If
Maybe
you
a playoff team,
if-
Dan.
Any win's a good win,
If you're
Dan.
going to do that, you should do it from the spin room. That can't be said out in public.
I don't have the spin room today, Dan.
If you buy World Series gear and your team loses, you should be embarrassed. In fact, you should be ashamed of yourself. You don't buy World Series gear before your team wins the World Series. You know what they call that, Dan? They call it putting the cart before the horse. Counting your chickens before they roost. You know what I mean?
Before they hatch, I think, is
I don't know.
how you count the
Taylor,
chickens.
I
write
am
that
not
one.
sure.
I think you're
Might be a
mixing
personal
up
experience
quotes.
for Taylor. Yeah.
I call it the Tariq Stevenson. Celebrating a win before you've won.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju. Do you buy World Series champion merch before you've won? Yes
You don't
or no?
do it. You don't. You don't. Dan, you know what the T in Tariq and the S in Stevenson stand for?
Too soon?
They stand for the Stugotz is strong in you.
He was celebrating very early, and he has had to apologize.
Can you say he's laughing at his own jokes anymore, Chris?
It felt like we talked more about Colorado football when they lost. Probably not fair.
Yeah, it's so true.
Seahawk defenders fighting with each other on the sideline. Chuck Knox is rolling over in his grave.
Or as I like to call him, Chuck Knoll.
You know what Chuck Knox was, Dan? A tough SOB.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's very true.
McAfee should have been the replacement kicker for the kid who tore his ACL. I mean, he has to. Put a stiff out there. Give the kid a chance. Anyway. Nick Sirianni.
If I may, video, why don't you get the footage of that guy tearing up his knee, please, and just keep playing it because it's awful and funny to watch.
Nick Sirianni, NFL Head Coach of the Year, Collision Course. Myles Garrett, the rare person who looks less intimidating when dressed as the Terminator. What happened?
It wasn't that great a costume. It wasn't a great Schwarzenegger. That's a lot of work to put in to have a Schwarzenegger that's not a great Schwarzenegger.
The missed extra point always comes back to haunt you. You can't be called Greg the Leg and miss a 44-yard field goal and an extra point. I hate them. Has an interim coach ever been fired? I hate them. At least Devontae Adams is playing with his friends. I hate them. Hey, Aaron Rodgers, there's a play clock. You have to snap the ball before it ticks down to 0. I hate them. Has any other team in the history of professional football, I'm rolling right now, Dan, ever burned all 3 timeouts on a touchdown drive in the first quarter? I hate them.
They have had a lot of trouble with the play clock. Like it's weird.
Yeah, it ticks down to 0.
Aaron Rodgers has never had trouble with that.
I know. You know what the S in Salah stands for, Dan? Smiles. All smiles. I hate him. Anthony Richardson. Honesty is not the best policy. I'm not certain anyone in the history of the NFL can make you forget how bad he's been with a single throw other than Anthony Richardson. He is terrible for 2.5 quarters, and then he does something you've never seen on a football field before, and you forget the 2.5 quarters.
There are only 2 quarterbacks I've seen in the league that make consistently puzzling, terrible throws.
You're right.
It's Anthony Richardson and Trevor Lawrence,
Yes.
where he misses a guy by 14 yards, and you're like, what was that?
Mm-hmm. The F in Freddie Freeman stands for fake teeth. The EE in Freeman stands for the EE in teeth. Phil Lesh, rest in peace. An amazing man with a beautiful mind. I love you, I'll miss you, and thank you for being the person responsible for providing me with over 100 of the greatest nights of my life.
You being grateful for someone who's dead makes that the perfect Grateful Dead punctuation.
Hell of a run. Speaking of hell, Art Briles. Dan, those are the weekend observations.
Stugotz, I don't know if you've noticed early in this NBA season something that I think is the funniest thing that I have seen on the court during the NBA season. It's early now, and when you say the Celtics are disrespected, they're undefeated again. They win last night against Milwaukee. If they don't get injured, it's going to be very hard to see much of anyone beating them. But the funniest thing that I've seen in the NBA this year is just how difficult it is for Zach Edey to stay on the court because he had 4 fouls in 13 minutes in one game and 6 fouls in 15 minutes in another game, which is what would happen if you or I were trying to defend the post. That many fouls that quickly, where you're getting 6 fouls in 15 minutes, is super odd.
He's also getting his money's worth. I mean...
He's just too slow to be out there.
He is, you're right.
And that's a weird team for him to join just because if you're going to build around Ja Morant, he's going to make his way up and down the court about 7 times in the time it takes old Nike Air Cement sneakers Zach Edey to be able to run up and down the court.
Is this like a modern-day bruiser? Like, hey, the coach is like, hey, you're getting 13 minutes. Use them.
I would tell you back in the 90s, perhaps the late 80s, this guy would dominate Rick Smits. I mean, I am telling you. He was, I mean,
Rick Smits was quite good.
He was.
No one's dominating Rick Smits. Even Ewing had trouble.
No.
Occasionally.
It was Reggie Miller, Dale Davis, Antonio Davis. It was never Rick Smits.
I just can't think of a worse team for Zach Edey to be on than Memphis when you consider John Morant's strengths. And John Morant can literally make it up and down the court before Zach Edey can make it down the floor once.
It's crazy because the general NBA consensus when drafted was that. And then, because he played really well in the preseason, I saw a lot of NBA minds that I really respect go, you know what? Maybe this will work. Offensively, he has more to his game than we thought. And now, in 2 games, it's a complete 180 all the way back to this guy can't play. He can't be on the floor. He's the first player since the merger to foul out in 15 minutes or less in his NBA debut.
Complete 180.
Wow.
What?
That was better.
It's a good one.
It was good.
Lucy is about to catch a flight, Stugotz, but before it is that she leaves, I wanted to include her on an Instagram story and a story in general that a lot of people are noticing and talking about, which is that Giselle Bundchen, recently divorced Giselle Bundchen, is evidently, the reports are, having now pregnant and about to have a baby with the jiu-jitsu instructor that was a bit of an entanglement at the end of whatever Tom Brady's relationship status was with Giselle Bundchen at the end of their marriage. This is an interesting story beyond the gossip elements, Stugotz, because it's really rare for Tom Brady to be in any marriage where he's not the biggest money earner. Because throughout this power couple's marriage, Tom Brady was in a marriage where Giselle Bundchen, what she was doing with aging, harder to do than what Tom Brady was doing in sports with aging, which is maintaining beauty money as you age. And now at the end of a relationship that everybody was interested in, you have, something that feels, if not tawdry, slightly scandalous. And what is Tom Brady doing on his Instagram stories? I am not on Instagram, but I just saw that a lot of people were talking about whatever it is that Tom Brady is doing.
I wouldn't call this situation scandalous because, hey, you're divorced. You want to go have a baby with your hot jiu-jitsu instructor. Hell yeah, sister. You do that. That's feminism. But what I found funny about this situation, people are like, Lucy, it's not funny. Well, guess what? My parents are divorced, so I can laugh about it. I have
It's kind of like littering inside.
Yeah,
bona
I
fides.
have full
Bona
right
fides,
to do
yeah.
that. Tom Brady last night posted on his Instagram story a sunset picture with you can put songs on your story of Landslide. But he didn't even do the Fleetwood Mac version. He did the Chicks version, which every time Iowa loses, I post that. I post the Landslide by the Chicks because I think it's really, really funny. You're probably, if Landslide is the song you're relating to, you're probably going through it at the moment. So he was expressing himself online in a funny way.
The quote was, "Oh, mirror in the sky, what is love?" What's
Which,
he mean by that?
By the way, everyone thinks that Landslide is about a broken heart. That's not what that song's about. Stevie Nicks said that when she was trying to get into music, her parents were like, hey, girl, this isn't going to work out for you. We'll pay for you to go to school. And so she was like, well, it's not working out. I can't get anywhere. I'm not going to have success in the industry. So the song was about her realizing she had to give up on her dream as a musician. And that's what Landslide is about. Little fun factoid for you there.
To be clear, I don't believe Giselle Bundchen having a baby now with her jiu-jitsu instructor is in any way scandalous. I was referencing
Feminism.
The fact. Thank you, Stugotz. I know you're a big advocate there.
Stu gets it.
I was referencing the fact that there were a lot of reports invasive in their marriage about why it is it ended and if the jiu-jitsu instructor had anything to do with it. The only reason I know that this jiu-jitsu instructor exists is because of whatever it is that was happening at the end of their marriage that the tabloids were reporting on. What do you make of this? You're feeling something in the realm of turmoil or heartbreak that Tom Brady is throwing out into the environment, where he's just telling everybody, well, that news stings. Is that what you're making of it?
I don't know. I think I just kind of find the song choice funny, and that was my whole sort of takeaway, because that's my ironic sad song. Every time Iowa loses, I do a little rotation: "Landslide" by the Chicks or "Bad Day," the song that they used to play when you
Daniel
got kicked
Powder.
off American Idol. And that one really would leave a nice little mark. But yeah, I mean, I don't know the inner details of their relationship, and I'm sure he's sad. But I just thought the post was funny.
Okay, that's all you wanted to talk about. You just wanted to talk about whether or not.
I like to gossip, Dan. It's fun and it's healthy. I saw a TikTok therapist tell me how important gossip is, and they're never wrong.
All right, put it on the poll, Juju. Is gossip healthy? Video, do me a favor, please, and get me the graphic of Anthony Rizzo during the World Series being pelted by baseballs, because I think this is one of the things in sports, Stugotz, that we are consistently looking past as something that really, really hurts in baseball,
Right.
and we just sort of shrug our shoulders on. That as hard as pitchers are throwing these days, and I understand that people, wear the equivalent of shin guards and elbow pads and everything else to make sure that when they get hit by baseballs, it's not too problematic. But the graphic that they showed during the World Series last night,
So good,
of Anthony Rizzo he crowds the plate and he doesn't back off, and it's got to be hard not to flinch. I don't know if you've seen Mary Hart. Do young people here know who Mary Hart is? The former Entertainment Tonight anchor. She's got
I do know.
great seats right behind home plate at Dodger games, and
Oh, I
she's the
didn't know
only
she
one
was
who
alive.
she.
Lucy, no.
That's
That's $50.
$50.
I'm not going to pay
So
that.
you-
I don't live here.
$50.
She didn't know.
So you don't know who she is.
$50.
Wait, that was
Not
such
gonna do that.
that was such like a Lucy.
I'm so happy she's alive, though.
Didn't
she
Mary
was great
Hart-
on Entertainment Tonight.
Yeah, and she used to
She
throw her
retired,
hat in
like,
the sky.
yeah, I remember her.
You're gonna make it after
That's
all.
Mary Tyler Moore. That's not Mary
different.
Hart.
No, but I know Mary Hart, and
Lucy,
I'm so happy she's alive.
you
That's
owe
the best news.
$50.
No, I'm not going to pay that.
Lucy, that's not one of the options.
Can I
Lucy.
expense it?
Lucy,
Yeah.
no,
You
no.
can.
All right,
You actually can.
Lucy, that's a $50 fine.
All right, well, I have a flight to catch.
Okay,
so it's
no,
so lovely
okay,
being
then it's
here.
$51 if you
Traveler's
tell
check.
me there's no cash.
Was Mary Tyler Moore the
carries
one
cash?
with Bob Newhart, or was that another person?
That was not with Bob
Wasn't it a
Newhart.
spin-off?
I think.
And
I
then
think
Bob
Billy's right,
Newhart's
yeah.
show was just a dream. Spoiler alert, right? Isn't that how that works?
I don't think I may have this wrong. I don't believe that Mary Tyler Moore and Bob Newhart were connected, but maybe someone will correct me on
No, that was a Dick Van Dyke
thought-
show,
yeah, I
right?
thought
She
it
was
was Dick
married to
Van
Dick Van
Dyke.
Dyke, and then sometimes he tripped over the ottoman.
What I was
Yes.
saying about Mary
DVD.
Hart is that she sits right behind home plate, and
Love that
she's
for
the
her.
only person who doesn't flinch. She's been doing it for so many years. On foul balls that go flying back, you will see everyone around her flinch, and she's the only one who does not flinch.
But she might be dead.
She's not dead.
Oh.
She is still alive.
maybe that's why she doesn't flinch.
She wouldn't flinch if she were dead. That's correct. But Lucy, you're going to go ahead and owe those $50. But here's Anthony Rizzo.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Getting pelted. Lucy, this this how this works around here.
Says who?
As your boss technically
Wow, she
says
looks great, by the
me
Mary
technically.
Hart looks good. Good for her.
Let's go ahead and show Anthony Rizzo, Stugotz, this graphic of him just getting hit by.
Oh my
Even the graphic die?
This is the funniest thing I've ever seen. They made like the cartoon Rizzo just crumble to the floor.
Yes, if you're not watching this on YouTube, it's him being hit by the equivalent of 100 baseballs. I don't know how many times I guess it's 194.
194, yes.
Most in Major League Baseball.
Since 2015. So, good
what,
God.
What is the record for most hit by pitch in the entire history of baseball?
Biggio, right?
I think so.
It used to be, but 194 times since 2015, Stugotz. Look, I don't know how many people listening to this think about the daily wear and tear that athletes endure. I know in baseball, I've told you a couple of different times that the 162-game season traveling like that, it's an insanity. Like, it's not reasonable in any way. And to be hit by a baseball 194 times in the last decade.
Yeah, Mike, this is going to be disappointing. Craig Biggio is second all time. He was hit 285 times. Huey Jennings is number one with 287. Biggio just too short of the record.
But Biggio does have the modern era record.
Yeah.
And Huey, I'm just going to guess, leaned into a few.
Huey, born in 1869, died in 1928.
Yeah.
If I'm Biggio, I consider coming back for the record, right? Like Mr.
Agreed.
3000.
Yeah.
Like, this is something he can accomplish if he comes back.
You're two away.
Give
Just
him a
lean into
month.
two.
Yeah,
A month of ABs.
exactly right.
Don Baylor up
that's a
there.
good idea.
Jason Kendall up there. Anthony Rizzo, 8th all time.
Chase Utley, 9th.
I have a random segue on the same topic, more or less. I met someone recently who they asked me what I did, and I said I worked with you, Dan, and they said that they didn't like you because you gave away your Craig Biggio Hall of Fame vote.
Yeah.
Is that the case? I didn't think you gave away that vote. And
Are you scratching your knee or your
no,
dog?
Willow was humping me.
It's actively happening.
Baby.
But I fought through it, okay? I persevered. No one needs to know about that. Cut that, Jer Bear. Cut that from the record.
Can't cut it
I
from
didn't
my
think you
mind.
took Craig Biggio's unanimous vote away. Or did you?
I sold my Hall of Fame vote to Deadspin. I didn't actually sell it, didn't take any money. And I don't know. They ended up voting in 10 people who deserve to be in. The voters, the readers of Deadspin did a good job. And I don't assume that they would not vote in Biggio.
I'm confirming this, but I believe Biggio missed being a first ballot by 1 vote, and my dad didn't vote for him. And then the next year did, and he got in easily
So
the
it was
next
you
year.
being blamed for something Greg
Yes,
did?
of course.
Okay. That's kind of what I thought, because he sprung this on me, and I was like, oh, yeah, I know Dan sold his ballot once, but I didn't associate it with Craig Biggio in any way.
One of the things back in my day is
Attaboy.
out beginning today. Back in my day with Greg Cody, you mentioned Don Baylor, and
So good.
One of my favorite stories involves, like sports stories, involves Don Baylor, and it's he stands in the box and he does lean over the plate, and he was hugely intimidating, and he wouldn't flinch, so he would get hit by a ton of pitches, and then he would run to first base or jog and never show anybody that it hurt at all until the time he got hit by a Nolan Ryan fastball. And then he jogs to first base and everyone's waiting, and he jogs to first base as if it doesn't hurt at all, and then gets to first base and collapses. Being hit by 194 baseballs in a decade, Stugotz, I got to imagine. Think about how and this doesn't probably apply to the younger people, but I'm sure that at this point, Mike, Billy, Chris, dads, you're feeling aches and pains when you wake up in the morning. You've gotten to that age, have you not? Imagine being hit on the forearm, on the wrist, on the elbow 194 times, on the hip by people coming out of the bullpen now. An A's reliever comes out of the bullpen throwing 104 miles an hour.
Imagine being paid $60 million a year to do that, though. I mean, Jesus, Rizzo.
Well, who's
I'm not feeling
he's
bad
not
for
paid
him.
$60
That
million
guy has
a
made
year.
$220 million in his
But
career.
he's not being paid.
Hit me with 194.
Where did you
I
come
mean,
up with he's getting $60 million a year?
It was a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
It kind of helped the argument.
7th inning stretch.
Right, yeah.
My hip, to your point, Dan, my hip kind of pops when I get out of bed.
Every morning.
You just have to move my go in a circle until I feel the pop.
Yeah. Biggio was 2 votes shy, by the way.
So
2.
Dan's and Greg's.
2 in a second year.
It was just one of those awkward things where I was put in a weird spot, and I didn't know whether or not to be like, yeah, I don't have anything to do with Dan's choices with his Hall of Fame votes. Please don't hold that against me. But also, like, maybe he didn't even do that. So I can't really say, but
I don't think I did.
I'm not a bad person.
I can be blamed for any number of things. I don't think that's one of them. I would have heard about it if I had kept Biggio out of the Hall of Fame. I'd certainly remember it. I wanted to ask you guys something else that has finally happened, and I'm surprised it took this long to happen. People are turning on the omnipresence of Jason Kelce. he is everywhere so much. And the Kelces had a really good run of not annoying people. But recently, ESPN is now reportedly thinking of a late-night show with Jason Kelce. And I don't know when and how or where it's most recently happened, because they had a sustained run of nobody seemingly being annoyed with them and how much they were grabbing at. And it seemed like everywhere people were finding them charming and endearing and delightful, being introduced to the personality that Philadelphia had already come to love with Jason Kelce. But they've taken so many media jobs that there is now a significant pushback on Jason Kelce is everywhere. Do I need this much Jason Kelce? I still like hearing from him everywhere, but where are you guys on this?
I mean, people are always going to be contrarians, Dan. They did this with Tony Romo, and they can never take Tony Romo away from me. At the end of a game, there is no one else I want to hear saying, than Tony Romo. And they tried to tell me, Tony Romo's so annoying. They don't even let him predict plays anymore. He's just weird, and he makes weird noises. No, I love Tony Romo. Same thing with Jason Kelce. People out there, they just want to be different. They just want to be contrarian. And they want to say, enough of Jason Kelce, like I did with Jason Stugotz at the WNBA Finals. Yeah. And sometimes people just do that.
But it could be a case of Jason Kelce is in too many places saying too many things. Like, if I had to give those guys advice, it would be stick to your podcast. Like, you have your own...
And come on, God Bless Football.
And come on, God Bless Football. Like, you have your own platform. Let yourselves be heard once a week right there. And nowhere else.
Oh, but they're being paid a great deal of money
Dan,
to make
they've made
appearances
so much money
all over the place.
I know, but just like, I don't know, for me, just stick to the podcast.
Stop making money?
Well, no, they've made a ton of money. They can go about it differently than most people. They don't have to grab at every single appearance, every single commercial, every single job that's offered to them like I would. They could just come on once a week and just do their show, and people would flock to it.
That's horrific advice.
Well, that's my advice.
Like, don't do Monday Night Countdown. Don't do any of that. Don't do any of the commercials.
But that's why people are getting annoyed.
But
He's in too many
chunky is
places.
spicy. And it's good to be spicy.
Contractually, I think he's got a bunch of deals that obligate him, not unlike Belichick, to be everywhere because they grabbed at so much opportunity post-retirement. I would say nobody would dispute that the Kelces have been managed well, right? That the Kelce economy has been managed well. That's not up for dispute. It can't be disputed, but they may have grabbed too much stuff. I expected this recoil to arrive earlier than it has.
From the Kelce standpoint, though, I feel like this is the way with a lot of players that once they're done playing, they still want to be around the game of football, and like this is a way for him to still be going to games, part of the game. Like, he's still around football, which is obviously a game that he loves. So I don't begrudge any Kelce for doing any media opportunity. And I think that, like, their Q rating is probably still pretty high.
Late night television, how do we feel about that? That seems like an older form for ESPN to embrace. There aren't a whole lot of people getting into late night television right now. ESPN has never succeeded at late night television that isn't SportsCenter. At one point, I was talking with Eric Rydholm, the producer, pardon the interruption, about doing something coast to coast with Bill Simmons. They've done some stuff with Jay Moore, but late night television generally has not worked at ESPN. How do you feel about Jason Kelce being stood up as a signature personality around? These are the reports around which you would build a late night show.
I mean, he's a center. That's like a lot of pressure to put on a guy to host and carry a late night show, to be funny, to be entertaining. I don't know if it's a daily show or a weekly show. It's just a lot to ask. And I guess back to my original point, when you start doing so many other things, the thing that made you popular starts to suffer. And so that's why I would tell Jason and Travis just to focus on that one thing while Travis is still playing.
I agree. He probably can't block for now.
I don't think that's like necessarily an issue because we're leaving out a portion where his brother dates the biggest pop star in the entire world. So, like, I don't think that their audience is fading away by any means. I think they're growing and growing, and now they're attracting a completely different audience than they did a year, 2 years ago, because you have this whole new demographic of people. I just say, like, whatever. I want everyone to make money and succeed and be happy, and why not strike while the iron's hot?
This is kind of like when LeBron came down here, and it made us go to, like, it was like, oh, LeBron, and then LeBron left us, and it was like, oh, like Kelce right now has the Taylor Swift effect. If, like, LeBron leaving us Taylor leaves them, do the Kelces still?
It's a terrible example.
Yeah.
I think it's a good example.
Did you
actually.
see Jason Kelce when he was at the Taylor Swift concert like a week ago was like getting swarmed like a celebrity. Like everybody was just running after Jason. He just went to buy like merch and everyone was so excited to see Jason.
Yeah.
This wouldn't have happened like 2 years ago. Why would you not take advantage?
When Lucy is saying that the audience continues to grow, I don't believe it is possible in 2024 to have your audience grow without a substantive portion of it becoming polarized by that growth. I don't think you're allowed in 2024 to just get universal applause on anything. I don't think a person exists that just gets everyone anymore applauding for them all the time. If the Kelces are going to get more and more audience acquisition, inevitably they're going to get some blowback and be less popular in spaces than they've ever been.
And that's already happened. Like, there's a whole group of men out there that are furious that there's a woman at football games on camera. Like, we've already sort of seen that blowback, but like, they have a big enough audience. They make enough money. Their podcast is one of the biggest podcasts in the world. Like, I honestly think they're pretty chill and they're fine. And like, you never know what a post-football career is going to look like for somebody. Like, something could happen and Jason couldn't be on TV anymore or whatever. So like, why not capitalize on it now when you know that you're going to make a lot of money and you can set yourself for life?
I wanted to ask you guys something else that I discussed with Mina Kimes and Pablo Torre on Pablo Torre Finds Out. Did I read this report correctly that Mina and Dan Orlovsky are doing something with The Simpsons? Did I just saw something in passing and I didn't read any of the details.
Yes, they announced it during the game. There's like a Simpsons NFL broadcast that's going to happen.
Wow.
So
Didn't go great with Toy Story.
Why?
Guys, it was
all right.
super glitchy.
That's
What
in
are we
the
like,
beginning.
do you guys not remember watching it?
No, I don't.
I
honestly.
remember.
Joe Tess was like, "Sorry again. You're just looking at me, and because the game has stopped working."
That was a
Boone
good
killed
test.
it though.
It was ambitious.
Oh, it's ambitious.
It went okay. There were hiccups, but I think we all expected that. And now
You
they're
are
doing it
looking
with
live and me only.
and now they're going to do it with The Simpsons. So that's kind of cool.
By the way, just one last thing on the Kelces. So Jason Kelce made $81 million in his 12-year NFL career. He's already signed a 3-year, $100 million contract deal with Wondery. Like, why would he turn down more money when he's easily making more than he made in his entire career in the NFL?
That deal was for the podcast, though, right?
Yeah, but
Right.
that's just one aspect of it. If you could do the podcast once a week or whatever it
You're
is and
saying
make $100
grab it
million,
all the money while you can.
yeah, because he beat his body for 12 years to
Okay.
get to this point. Now he can cash in on all the work that he did. Granted, it's because of the popularity of the podcast with his brother and with who his brother's dating, but like, why not cash in?
It's a Cowboys-Bengals Monday Night Football game, and I think it's brilliant because making the Cowboys Simpsons characters is the only way you will get me to watch the Cowboys again this season.
Thank you for bringing up the Cowboys because that's what we were talking about with Mina on Pablo Torre Finds Out, and I'm curious what your thoughts are because Mina and I don't very often have big disagreement, but we did on this. And the story was that the Cowboys do something that no other team in the league does, which is where their players are working out or in private spaces, they do fan and customer tours that are invasive to the players that make more than $10 million a year because Cowboy fans have an unusual access to the spaces that are usually private for the Cowboys. And some former Cowboys were saying that it gets in the way of winning, that it is a distraction. And the thing that Mina and I were disagreeing about is I don't believe in the way that Jerry does these transactions where winning is secondary, that business is ever a distraction because business is what it is that Jerry does. And business is booming in Dallas, even if the product on the field isn't particularly relevant because of how it is that he ends up doing business. And I wanted to discuss this with you guys because some former Cowboys are saying that stuff like that gets in the way of winning, and I don't believe that it does. I believe Jerry will find wherever it is that he can find dollars around the circus tent and has done this for 30 years. He does not care what the attention looks like as long as there is attention, and I'm about to give you a pretty shocking stat, I believe, about the business of the Dallas Cowboys.
I think that the story about the tours made me think of watching the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders series on Netflix, because there was a really uncomfortable scene where there was a tour going through like their locker room, and the whole thing just was like very, very invasive feeling and was just honestly pretty bizarre. I'm with you on like the business is the business, right? Like the business is making money, but I could totally see how a player would not like working in that environment, would not like working out in that environment, would feel like they're constantly being surveilled or constantly being bothered by people that aren't on the team. And that is sort of like a sacred place for teammates to be together and to like work together, and how just awkward it would feel. And so, yeah, I could see how that would bother a player.
I believe it's dehumanizing. It's not the part that I was disagreeing with Mina on. In fact, I would say that it's not a giant stretch to take all of that profit off of intimate spaces where the players are. It's not a big leap from that to how Donald Sterling treated his players, where he'd invite fans and friends in the locker room and be like, look at all these beautiful black bodies, and treat it as like a private VIP affair. But the part that Jerry always gets rewarded on, and I don't know how you can argue that this is bad for business, I believe the Dallas Cowboys are worth $3 billion more than any other sports franchise.
They are confirmed. $11 billion.
You guys remember that video that Jamie Foxx let out? That was wild. Do you not know what I'm talking about?
The one from the hospital or somewhere else?
No. It's a Jerry Jones video. He's at Cowboys practice, and he overhears Jerry Jones talking about a player. Oh, boy. Oh, you haven't heard it? I'll grab that video for you.
Thank you. Yes.
I will grab that.
This is news to me. I'm sorry.
Since you wanted to invoke Donald Sterling. Okay.
Well, no, Jerry Jones is an old-timey, from another time oil man who doesn't much care about what the media reports on things, as long as it brings attention to his franchise, or where it is that he leaves his players or employees feeling powerless or dehumanized. His way of doing business is spectacularly NFL, Stugotz, and he doesn't do a very good job of hiding the overt greed in it, and how much or how little he cares about how you receive how he decides to do entertainment.
He won the Super Bowls in the 90s with Michael Irvin and Troy Aikman, so like he's kind of checked that. I know he wants to win another one, right? But I think Jerry truly cares about being the most valuable NFL team in the league by $3 billion, more than he cares about winning. If you're asking...
That is winning
That's winning to him, yes. Winning at business is winning to Jerry Jones. If you're asking, would that get in the way of winning? I feel like that's a bunch of players who didn't win who are making excuses as to why they didn't win. I don't want to hear it, because he's taken a few people throughout the facility and they're at practice. And
it's
they're doing
invasive, Stugotz.
I know it's invasive, but it doesn't get in the way of winning. Come on. That's ridiculous.
Is it?
We've had people watch us podcast,
and it's super hard.
It's
hard to focus.
It's hard for Chris to read when people are in the room.
This is practice, not a game. Like, they're coming to practice. They're walking through the facility. Like, how does that impact winning and losing?
It's a lot. We have to tell them, don't look at Dan. You got to give everyone all the rules. Like, it's
Jamie Foxx. Mike, I don't know what that video is. Can you give me the context before it is that we play it?
Yeah, let's give video some time to rip the video. But the origins where Jamie Foxx was at a Dallas Cowboys practice. Maybe he was enjoying this incredible experience that Jerry Jones is offering his customer base. But he was there standing next to Jerry Jones at practice out in the stands, and Jerry Jones was rattling off stats. And then it ends with a surprising thing that is out there for a little bit before Jamie Foxx decides to cut off the live broadcast.
Measurement you don't usually hear.
Yeah. And look, these front offices, they think about everything when they're talent evaluating. They go through it probably is on an actual scouting report.
It's not an Arnold Palmer situation, is it?
Yeah. That's a difficult one to say.
Arnold Palmer. Yeah.
What's his nickname? Does he have a Golden Bear type nickname, Arnold?
That's a good question. Arnie's Army was the nickname of his fan base. I want to hear this Jamie Foxx.
It is a game of inches.
Thank you.
I don't think I want to hear it anymore.
Wasn't he the king?
He is the king, yeah.
King. Yeah, but there's so many kings.
Elvis is the king.
Yeah. When I say the Golden Bear, you know who I'm talking about. When I say the king, there's pushback.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think of Palmer as the king. When was that?
Elvis.
Was that popularized at all? I don't think that that's something. Elvis is the king. LeBron is the king.
No, Elvis is the king.
How many other kings are there?
There's one king.
Yeah, LeBron's King James, not the king.
I've never heard Arnold Palmer
Slow it down. Nice.
said as the king. That's the first time I'm hearing that as a nickname. Is that you're our golf expert? Is that a thing? Is that something?
I mean, the king is for Elvis. It's not for Arnie. I love you, Arnold, but it's not. Like that's reserved for one person, and it's Elvis Presley.
But we've also shortened it. He wasn't nicknamed the king. He was the king of rock and roll.
Arnold Palmer was?
No, Elvis Presley.
Elvis.
There's
But-
also
Which one was the
DeMar
one with the blue suede shoes?
DeRozan
Oh.
is a king.
But Michael Jackson was called the king of pop, and no one called him
Yeah,
the king. It was always king of pop. It's curious.
You know, Palmer, Jack, and Gary Player were known as the Big Three in the 1960s.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have multiple Big Threes. Which one was the actual Big Three?
I have never heard Palmer referred to as the king, but let's go ahead and play this Jamie Foxx video. I don't know why it is that I thought it was video from the hospital with
Did
Jamie
you watch
Foxx.
golf in the 60s?
I did not, but I just assumed that those were incredibly white guys who were the big three. Let's hear from Jamie
So
Foxx.
exercise patience here because it is practice. There's a lot of audio there. Let's listen closely. I don't know if they edited the sound on the front end out because this
Seems dangerous.
this audio pops up on the back end.
Hey, that's pretty good right there. He showed balance. 5'9.5", 210. 5'9", 210. 4'1". Okay. 9 3-inch head. 8.5 inch.
Windy.
Well, I heard that clear.
Yeah, Jamie Foxx, I don't think that Jerry Jones knew he was on video there. I'm not sure how much Jerry Jones, given his general soaked in power situation, cares about what anyone overhears that he is saying, because he has been powerful for a long time. He's had some scandals that just sort of vanish that would end other owners and bother other owners. But when your franchise, I'm going to say it again, because I think it's a shocking stat. His franchise is worth $3 billion more than any other franchise. Like there is, I don't know, maybe internationally there are some soccer clubs
Man,
that
he
are.
is banking on those tours.
So many tours.
Wow, so many tours. In fairness to Jerry Jones, it's only what it sounds like, and he could have been cut off in the middle of saying something. I don't know. He could have been saying like discus or something.
Unlikely. What is the most expensive or most valuable franchise overseas in soccer? Like
Hey,
what's
United or Real Madrid.
What's their tour
is it
schedule like?
worth $11 billion?
Yeah. I think it's up there. I think they're worth more than. I think Man United's worth more than the Cowboys.
I legitimately did not think there was such a thing as an NFL franchise or any franchise worth $3 billion more than any other franchise.
Mike, Manchester United is $6 billion right now. $6 billion.
I remember reading, like, when I was researching for Stugotz's book, that the Cowboys were the most highly valued sports club or franchise in the entire world, so that's probably still true.
According to Forbes 2023 rankings, it's Cowboys, Yankees, Warriors, Patriots, Rams, Giants, Bears, Raiders, Knicks, Jets, Real Madrid,
Dicks?
Commanders. What?
8.5 inches?
It sounded
I
like
said Knicks.
Jessica, I didn't know you
Game
did
of inches.
research
What's happening
for Stugotz's book. You did research for
Thank you,
Stugotz's
Smitty.
book?
Someone had to do it, Dan. I mean, I don't even remember what I wrote at this point. I guess I got to buy the book. You're welcome.
Man U, 49ers, Lakers, Cox, Eagles, Dolphins, Barcelona, Texans, Liverpool, Broncos, Seahawks.
Dolphins?
Oh, Seahawks.
What'd you hear?
This is on me.
We can agree he was the king of iced tea lemonades, at least.
That I'd give you.
I mean, I'm pretty sure he was the king, Dan. I don't think I made that up.
I'm not saying you made it up. I'm just telling you that that's not something that I've ever heard before in
If
my
you
life.
watched Columbo or Magnum P.I. or Matlock or Murder, She Wrote, you would know.
I don't believe that before now the majority of our audience has ever heard that Arnold Palmer.
You don't want to slow that one down.
It's
the king.
Bayern Munich, Dodgers, Falcons, Vikings, Ravens, Steelers, Browns, Testicles, Red Sox, Titans, Colts, Chiefs, Paris Saint-Germain?
I'd like the
Chargers,
remainder of
Cubs,
this.
Bulls, Panthers, Saints, Celtics, Jaguars. And then just Ferrari.
Oh, well, it's gonna go up next year with Lewis Hamilton.
Wait a minute. I'm pretty sure a testicle snuck in there. I'm not totally sure.
How much are they worth?
It may have just been me giddy and delirious at the end of a show.
It's been
but
a long day, Dan.
I think there were some things you threw in there subliminally that did not belong in there.
Chris told the governor of Minnesota that he wants to watch more porn.
No, Dan brought up porn, as you'll hear in the postgame show for most people.
Good tease by me.
Yeah, that is Jessica referencing something that has not yet run on the show.
Stay
Now
tuned.
they're all gonna listen.
But stay tuned.
Yeah.
It's also run live. Like, what are we doing? Yeah. Stay tuned. That's actually a great tease.
Chris Cody, I cannot tell you how bad you were today.